For those who weren't here last week, I'll remind you that James Terry Sherwin was born in New York and became an international master in 1958. In 1951, he won the New York State Chess Championship. He tied for first place in the Manhattan Chess Club Championship in 1954-55. That title was shared with Alexander Kevitz. He took first place at the Eastern Open Chess Championship, Washington, D.C. in 1960. In 1961, Sherwin became chairman of the USCF Rules Committee. He was the president of the American Chess Foundation from 79 to 90. Professionally, he was executive vice president of the GAF Corporation. I never have looked up what that is. James Sherwin, still alive, lives in England near Bath. In August of 2019 at Torquay, at age 86, he tied for first place in the rapid play event at the British Championships. Just a couple months ago, December 2023, age 90, he finished sixth place at the Bristol Blitz Championship. You gotta love a guy 90 years old. Great stuff, Sherwin. Tries the English opening here, c4, Bobby with the Anglo-Indian defense. Knight c3, which is the Queen's Knight variation, g6, and d4 just transposes to the King's Indian defense. Bishop g7 is the normal variation, e4, d6, knight f3, kingside castle, bishop e2. This is the orthodox variation right here. e5, d5 is Petrosian's variation. That's the world champion Tigran Petrosian. He was world champion from 63 to 69, if I'm not mistaken. Queen's Knight d7, kingside castles is the closed line in the positional defense. Knight c5 is a transposition to Gleck's defense. Of course, it wouldn't have been known by that name in those days, since Igor Gleck wasn't even born until, when was Gleck born? It was after this event. It was around the 90s that this line was given its name for Igor Gleck. Queen c2 here, pawn a5, and we get transposed back to the positional. I think that's the positional defense there. So we go back and forth between lines here. Knight e8 from Fischer, bishop e3, pawn f5, pawn takes pawn, and I am so surprised by pawn takes pawn here. We always, everybody who plays this line always plays bishop takes pawn. Keep the barrier in front of your king, number one. Put the heat to your opponent's queen, number two. Develop your bishop, number three. There's every reason to capture with the bishop here and force your opponent to move his queen and then put your knight back where it belongs. So I'm not sure what Bobby was trying to pull here. Maybe he just wants to, I don't know what he wants to do. That move is so confusing to me. That is un-Bobby-like. I don't get it. Well, f4 is played here, just in case your plan was to play your pawn to f4. And it seems to be. Why else would you take with the pawn? Now, note that you don't want to play something like knight d3 here. After knight takes knight, and queen takes knight, then pawn to f4 can be played, and you have to move your bishop, and now bishop f5 looks pretty good, defended by your rookie. If, coming back here, if he takes with the bishop, then you can play e4. Okay. f4 was played, e4 was played, queen d2 here. The eval bar the insignificantly favors white. At this level, you'll recall, if you're not +1 on the eval bar, you don't have a real advantage. It's pretty much equal between +1 and -1. Knight f6, the bot calling for queen, bishop d7. I said queen because I was thinking queen e7 should also be considered. Let's see what we get. A star. I started off slowly, but my evaluations have been better. Anyway, knight f6, not liked by the bot. I'm not sure really why that's given a question mark. That's awfully harsh. Knight c2, same comment. Why is it being given derogatory mark? You're getting your knight back into play. It's hard to give those derogatory marks as far as I'm concerned. Bishop d7, bishop d4, same comment. Look at the eval bars, same, it hasn't moved. So how's that inaccurate? Ficklebot strikes again. Queen e8, that gives you some access into the king's side, not to that square, but you understand. It gives the queen movement along the e8, h5 diagonal. Knight e3, Queen g6, pawn b3, pawn h5, knight cd1, knight g4. Rook f7 should be considered. Okay, no doubt to get up behind the queen, I gather. Anyway, knight g4 was played. Bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop. Knight f2. Got all these people putting pressure on your knight. I kind of was wondering about knight c2. Doesn't this... No, it gets inaccurate. Just when it changed its mind. Changed it to a star. I was liking knight c2. I was liking the idea of... Okay, it's not going to change his mind on that one. These were some of the ideas in my mind anyway. Knight f2, though. Knight takes f2. King takes f2. That's really... Oh, you have to. You have to take it with the king. You must. You can't... your rook is overworked. You can't take it with the rook. Queen's aiming at the other rook, so king has to take. h4. King back to g1. King f7. Queen's rook to c1. Yeah, again... Rook b1, like I said before and was called inaccurate. The idea is to support the b-man, maybe play a3 first and then b4, but the point is to support the b-man. Yeah, when it was my idea, it was inaccurate, but when it's Ficklebot's idea, it's the best move. King e7 here, rook c3. Did I mention that I like rook b1? I'd still play. I still think the rook belongs on b1, and this time I get a star. Rook c3 from Sherwin, rook g8, rook f2, adding some support to the second, knight a6. Yeah, I mean, you've got this lineup. Why not play h3? Says it's inaccurate. What did the bot call for on knight a6? It said king f7. Yeah, well, to me, why are you moving this way with your king? If I'm going to move my king, I'm not going to move it more out into the open. I'm going to move it to cover. I get a check mark for that. Anyway, knight a6 was Bobby's move. Knight c2. Yeah, sure. a3 again. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but again, to control the b4 square, it keeps this knight from coming in. Someday, maybe you'll push the pawn. I guess this is still the same idea to cover b4, but AWL, attack with less. The pawn is the better way to control that square. Knight b4 is played here. See, if you push the knight, then knight b4 is out of the question. By playing knight c2, you do control b4, but knight b4 is not out of the question. It's just an equal trade if I play there. And Bobby does play there, but he doesn't take. Now a3 is played. And I personally, you know what? I mean, in my mind, vacate c4 and get your bishop some access here. I get an exclam for that move. a3 does hit the knight, forces a knight trade. Rook takes knight here, c5. Yeah, queen a1 certainly deserves attention, doesn't it? That's a check. Play queen c1. I'll bring my queen back up here. And c5 by Bobby, and we have en passant, pawn takes. Rook c1 here. Queen e3 was in my sights here as well. See what we get, a star. Rook c1. Rook gb8. But not liking that either. In my mind, I thought maybe c5 to make way for the bishop. I mean, queen d4 is also facilitated, perhaps. With c5, not my primary goal, but it's an added benefit for queen d4 at the right moment. Anyway, rook gb8, rook d1. Battery attacking the D-man. Queen F6 defends. Now Queen E3. C5 now. Rook D5. Not real appealing to the bot. Eval bar didn't like it either. I'm more interested in the eval bar than the annotator. Like A4 here might have been an idea. It says inaccurate, but you can see the eval bar likes A4 better than Rook D5. But yeah, the point of Bishop F1, guys, is to open the second rank so that you can play your King's Rook over to D2. In case you're wondering, why retreat the bishop? Well, so you can connect your rookies. Oh yeah. So Rook D5 played. Bishop E6 says go away. Black is in control. Bot preferring bishop C6. I actually like the idea of attacking this structure here with A4. Ooh, yes. Rip open the queen side. Eval bar favors that as well. Bishop E6. Rook back to D2. Should have gone to D1. Now A4, exclaim here as well. B4, pawn takes the pawn, and yeah, he should have played pawn takes the pawn here. The idea of taking this pawn here is to keep black from maintaining control of the C3 square. This control here, so you take that out of there. It does allow A3, which is probably what discouraged him from playing it, because now you have to play Rook A2. It doesn't like that. This was my thought. This is what my brain was thinking. And you get Rook B1 check and Rook F1. If Queen D4 check, though. Oh, yeah, right. So King H1, Rook takes, Bishop takes. Yeah, it's a little doesn't work out for white, does it? That's what went through my mind, but it doesn't really work out. C5 was tried by Sherwin. Yep. So D5 here, and Queen C3 is, the bot says play it right away. You can play it now. You can play it later. C6. Probably now you had to take that pawn. I do get a thumbs up there, but again, the problem is A3 all day. All day, that's the problem, and yeah, black's just gonna win. C6. Now Queen C3 is played. Bishop to D3. How desperate do you have to be? D4. Nice move. Queen H3. Rook H8. First things first. Bobby's in no hurry. Good technique here. Rook D1. Pawn takes bishop. Rook takes the pawn. Queen takes the pawn on C6. Rook takes D4. Bobby is just going to do what he does best. Once he gets that death grip on you, he loves to just simplify, even if the bot says it's not the best move. But look, B3, and that becomes a monster pawn. Rook E2, King F7 gets out of the pen. Rook D1, Queen's Rook to D8, Rook D E1, battery attacking the bishop, Queen B6 check, King H1, B2. Oh, man. Rook B1, super attacking the B-man. Yeah, Queen C3 is being recommended. Well, thank you for letting me promote. I don't get that. Rook B1. If your opponent plays Queen C3 in a position like this, be sure to submit it to the fair play team. Right, I don't get it. Rook D1 check, Rook takes Rook, now B1, Rook D2 check. Of course, if your opponent plays that, coming back to this, I said submit it to the fair play team, but he's a little bit late to the party if he's using a bot at this juncture. It's hilarious when you can tell your opponent, you get an advantage, and then there's this long delay as they start setting it up on their device, and you just know they're setting it up. And sometimes if they set it up soon enough in the game, they can come back, because you're going to blunder sooner or later. We all blunder. But it's always funny to me to see these guys spend that minute and a half to 2 minutes that it takes to set it up and then still lose. I love that. I love that. I love it. A lot of times they'll lose on time. Sometimes they'll come back from behind, but they spent so much time. I had a guy, and I just play on. I play on for a number of reasons, because the more moves you play, the more evidence there is. But the other thing is, since they have to wait 8 to 10 seconds per move, you could run them out of time. And I've done that in plenty of cases. I had this one guy where he could have pre-moved a forced mate in 4. It was forced. Anybody could have seen it. The blind caveman could have seen it, but this guy couldn't see it. So 10 seconds goes by, and he plays the first move in the forced line, and I play a move, and 10 seconds goes by, and he plays a second move in the forced line, and I play a move, and 10 seconds goes by, and he plays the third move, and it's mate in 1, and I play a move, and tick, 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 he flags. I report them anyway, by the way. Just because you win doesn't mean he didn't cheat. So I report them anyway when it's so painfully obvious like that. Anyway, Queen C3 is going to be answered. In fact, a bot will often under-promote to a rook when the promoted pawn's going to get captured anyway. Because it would rather lose a rook than a queen, so the bots will under-promote when the promoted pawn is going to get captured. It's the funniest thing. That's another sure sign of a computer cheater, if he under-promotes when there's no reason to, just that he doesn't want to lose a queen. All right, so rook b1 was played, rook d1 check, takes, now push the pawn, promote, rook d2, excuse me, and then queen 1 to b3, putting the question to the white queen, rook d3, rook d8. This is just a glorious move. Very instructional move, right? What a move. Just such a great move. Rook takes d8, queen takes the queen, pawn takes the queen. Delicious chess by Fischer. Such pristine simplification. Queen e3, rook 8 d3, queen takes pawn on f4, king g2, bishop c8, king g1, queen e4, king f2, bishop b7, rook d7 check, king e6, rook 1 d6 check, king e5, rook d3, queen g2 check, king e1, bishop e4, rook e3, queen g1 check, king e2, queen takes pawn check, king e1, king f4, rook c3, queen b2, rook dc7, bishop f3, threatening mate, rook from 7 to c4 is check, king g3, rook c2, preventing the queen from coming to f2 with checkmate. So queen takes the pawn on a3, rook 4 c3, preventing queen e3 check, but queen e7 check. I read somewhere when I was going over this game, this was not my line. I think it was Kirsten Mueller or somebody like that who showed a forced mate here in like 10 moves. It was queen a1, rook c1, queen b2, rook 3 c2, queen b4 check, king f1, queen d4, rook e2, queen d3, rook e1, bishop takes the rook check, rook takes the bishop, queen d1 check, rook e1, queen f3 check, king g1, and checkmate. Bobby Fischer, such a patzer, missed that forced mate in 9. Kirsten Mueller. It might not have been Mueller. It might have been, I don't remember where it was, but I'm not the one who saw it. Bobby with queen e7 check, king f1, queen e4, rook g2 check, king takes the pawn. He's got to watch out for queen b1 here. Rook to e3, and sure enough, queen b1. Don't take this. Queen b1, and he resigned. This was a cute shot by Sherwin, a cute try. If you take this, he's going to stalemate, guys. Just play that. Double exclam! Double exclam for Coach Daniel. And you can't get away from it because if you don't take, he just keeps you in check. Another double exclam, right? So that's going to be a stalemate. Oops. Whoopsie. So don't take that free rook. How many of you beginners would have taken that free rook and stalemated? Nice try by Sherwin. So let's show the cross table one more time. As you can see, Fischer with no losses. 6 wins, 5 draws, no losses at the top. Not bad.